Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and as always, before we get started, I'd like to thank MTG Stocks for allowing us to use graphical information for the purposes of this video. Alright, let's start here. So, as I'm sure many of you are aware, Wizards has moved its next banned and restricted announcement up early from November 21st to this Friday, October 18th. Now, the reasoning for this is that there's a lot of competitive events over the course of the next few weeks. But the reality is, Field of the Dead is just causing a lot of problems. If any of you guys out there play Arena or even Paper Standard, I'm sure you've run into this deck. And the reality is, this deck is just broken. It's causing a lot of problems in the format. It's constricting the format. It's making up in the range of, the high 20s, low 30s% of the decks. I think it might even be more prevalent on Arena. I mean, I've run into it a lot. And it's just not a deck that's easy to interact with. I mean, we lost Field of Ruin, so ever since that happened, it's very difficult. Like, land destruction is not a thing that is in Standard. It's not a thing that is, profitable to play in Standard. So it's very difficult to deal with Field of the Dead. And even if you are able to somehow sort of deal with their board state, the deck just keeps recovering, every time it drops a land on the field, just making more free guys. And so it's a really good deck. It's a great design, but it's just kind of broken in the format right now, and there's no sort of reasonable way for most other decks to interact with it well. It sort of takes the fairness out, and that's why, there's no guarantee that this card is going to be banned. In fact, Wizards may attempt a ban on some other part of the deck. Who knows? They've, we all know they've done this before. Hogak was a problem, and they tried to sort of skirt around that by banning other parts of the deck, and it just didn't solve the problem. So hopefully they've learned from past lessons that, go after the problem card, and the problem card definitely is Field of the Dead. Okay, so knowing all this, how does it affect us financially with a banning on Field of the Dead? Well, like I said, it's widely accepted around the internet that this is going to happen. I mean, of course, there's no guarantees. And in the event, the very strange event that it didn't happen, this card is, $6.50-ish today. It's going to be $15 if they don't ban it, because we'd be a ways out from the next, banned and restricted announcement, and then more people are going to want to build this deck. It's the old, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So, but let's assume it's going to get banned. And as you can see by the price, the market is assuming that's going to happen as well. It's been a few days since we've found out that they're basically going to emergency ban something by moving the announcement forward a month. And in that time, it's already dropped from $9 down to, $6.50, $6.75. So, as investors, what do we do about that? And the answer is, if this card is banned, you can see the all-time low on it was 75 cents. It's going to be there again, if not lower. This card is basically useless in any other deck. There's not really any other decks that see play, or any other significant decks that it sees play in, outside of Standard. So, it's going to be right here at 75 cents again, or even possibly lower. So, I'm selling any copies I have of this card at this price. If I can get whatever I can get for this card, I'm selling it at, because in 4 or 5 days from now, this is likely where the card's going to be. So take that information and do what you think is best with it. The other route that Wizards could take if they want to just kind of dance around the problem, something like they did with Hogak, would be to ban Golos Tireless Pilgrim. This card is one of the enablers of the deck. It's funny because in the deck it doesn't even really use sort of the activated ability. It's more just, it's ETB, you go get Field of the Dead or whatever sort of piece you may be missing. And then it kind of just becomes a great 3-5 beater after that. And it really only sort of gained in popularity since Scape Shift went out of the format. So it was just sort of filled the Scape Shift void when that rotated. We can see a spike from $1.50 up to $6 after rotation. So it was sort of the fill in the gap. It was the stopgap for the deck. And as you can see, again, this card is already going down because sort of everybody knows that There's a small possibility this one could get hit, but the more likelihood, they're going to make the right move and ban Field of the Dead. In either case, Golos is going to take a nosedive. I mean, if it gets banned, obviously it takes any card that gets banned, basically loses most or all of its value. Now, Golos does get played in some commander decks and things of that nature. There's actually some pretty cool commander decks that run Golos, so it's always going to have a little bit of value, but it's going to be, a third of where it's at today after the banning, whether it be either Golos or Field of the Dead. So this is another one to consider. If you have your copy for Commander or whatever, probably a good idea to unload any additional copies you have. And another one I wanted to show you guys that really piqued my interest this week was Savor the Moment from Shadowmoor. Now, LSV, I'm sure many of you know him, puts together awesome decks. Luis Scott Vargas. So he put together an taking turns stack, Narset, draw extra cards kind of deck, and went 5-0 with it in a tournament on MTGO. When that happens, out of the woodwork come the speculators. People buy the card up. They think the deck's gonna, dominate the format or whatever the case may be. And so, they're jumping in and grabbing as many copies as they can, hoping this is going to hit $50. And it might. I mean, the deck is really good. It's really cool deck. People love taking turn stacks. So, this card might hit $50. The supply on this card is very low. It was printed in Shadowmoor, which was a set that had no mythics. So it was, sort of in the rare slot with a bunch of other rares, and it just has a really low supply. It's never been reprinted. But if you're a Magic card investor, I mean, you try to buy low and sell high. We do that the best way that we can. And this is the moment where, pardon the pun, this is the moment where we want to sell. I mean, you sell when everybody else is buying because they're all hyped up about something, and you buy when good opportunities present themselves. And this is an opportunity to sell this card for massive profits if you have copies and you aren't intending on playing this deck. Alright, and before we get into the cards I'm investing in this week, if you're a subscriber, as always, I want to thank you for being here. We really appreciate your support. And if you're not, now would be a great time to consider hitting that subscribe button. We post at least 2 videos every week. Alright, so I mentioned these Horizon lands in a video a few weeks ago, and I just wanted to reiterate again today how great of an investment opportunity these are right now. They've completely bottomed out. I mean, we've been spending months sort of within $1 of where it is now. I can't keep these in stock in my store. I mean, I put one of these out in the shelf and it's like it vaporizes. I don't even know where it went. It just sort of disappears. So, like I said, no one trades them in. I can't keep them in stock, which means that the demand out there is extremely high for these. They've completely bottomed out. It doesn't matter which one you look at. The chart basically looks the same. They've all bottomed out. And these are just, these lands are not going to be reprinted anytime soon. Modern Horizons was a new offering from Wizards, and it was great. I mean, obviously they made some mistakes like Hogak and, possibly Urza and things along those lines. But these lands are good, good quality cards. We needed these lands, and now that they're here, they're here to stay. And this first Modern Horizons offering had the enemy colored lands. So the next one is going to be, lands like white, blue, red, green. So we're years before this gets reprinted. And the demand is just going to remain high for these lands. And sooner or later, this graph is going to start trending upwards because we're going to run out of supply. So keep in mind that, these are excellent investments at this price point. So the next couple of cards I wanted to touch on today were from the recent Commander 2019 set. And the first one is Crixend of Yawgmoth. As you can see, it's been bottomed out for, a month and a half now. We're actually just starting to come up off the bottoms. This is a good card. I mean, it's going to be played in Commander for years to come, whether it's your commander or just in your black deck type of thing. Any card that allows you to pay life rather than actually having to pay mana leads to really busted things happening. So this card's going to be a staple in a lot of decks in the future. Now, it may drop another buck or two because in November we're going to be having a small restock of Commander 2019, but it is a very small restock, so it shouldn't really affect the price. And I think this is still a great entry point for this card. This is the type of card that a few years from now I can see being double what it is right now. So yeah, definitely one to think about. Alright, the next one I want you guys to think about from Commander 2019 was Atla Polanyi Nest Tender. So, I mean, there's a couple of people in my store that have built this deck, and it's just a really cool deck. I mean, it's really fun to play. You want to have a good time playing Commander, build this deck. But yeah, that aside, this is a card that's gonna appear in decks. I mean, both as a commander, in things like Mael, just gonna keep getting played and played and played. And commander doesn't, one printing in a commander set doesn't put a whole lot of supply out there. I mean, supplies are sufficient to meet demand right now, and that's why we have a price of $5.50. But, assuming this doesn't get reprinted in a future commander set, which I really can't see, this is a good solid investment at this point. I mean, this is a $10, $20 card, in the future. So jumping in at this point is a great opportunity. All right, and the last one I have for your consideration today is Noble Hierarch. Pretty much all printings of this are good value, whether it be the Modern Masters printing, the Ultimate Masters printing. I mean, at this price, I would probably focus on picking up original printing Conflux. But again, any version of this card that you can get for around the $40 mark is a good, solid investment. And the reason why is, I mean, Noble Hierarch just gets played. It gets played in all kinds of Modern decks. The great thing about Modern and sort of where it is right now is there's not really sort of any dominant decks in Modern right now. We're still trying to figure out what the heck we're doing since Hogak got banned. So, people are trying all kinds of decks, which means that, prices kind of spread out amongst cards that are appearing in all the different decks that people are trying. And no one particular deck is focusing on Noble Hierarchs at the moment. I played Infect for years, so, I run a playset in my Infect deck, and the thing is, sort of any deck that this appears in generally runs it as a 4-of. So, players who want to build a deck that has this card need to buy 4 of them. And that's sort of, an investment at that point. But if it was me, if you don't have a playset, now is a great time to at least fill out your playset in this. But I mean, from my perspective, this is an excellent investment opportunity. I would be buying, multiples of this card to sit on because look at the chart. This card regularly hits, $60, $70 when it becomes popular, $80. I mean, we had an all-time high of 85. This card regularly hits those price ranges when it makes it into a deck that's, dominating the format. And that's going to happen again. So yeah, strongly consider this card as an investment opportunity. But at least if you don't have a playset, pick a playset up because this is a great, great, great entry point. Alright, I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this week in MTG Finance. If you did, hit that like button, smash it if that's your thing. And if you want me to keep doing these videos, let me know in the comments section below. I really like getting feedback from you guys. Alright, I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.